Hello and welcome to this new tutorial. Today I want to talk a little about geometry manipulation, but first of all let me show you something. I posted tea of course on my Instagram. Let's just get a sip of tea here now. And there will be a new tutorial today on my Patreon about brute force entropy growth system, and I will post that on there with a breakdown and rendering for Patreon exclusive. Cool. So yeah, of course my Instagram page, you can follow me there and you will get currently a lot of stories, no projects. I'm currently working on 2 projects, but they are for the future. So many people ask me a lot about my bokeh image, or I will post this link here in the description. It's Pentax forums, and here are some of bokeh images. You can just right click and then download it, so pretty easy. You can further manipulate them in Photoshop or Affinity, Resolve, Fusion and so on. Just a program that you like to choose. They are pretty cool ones and pretty vintage ones with like 6 or 7 diagrams plates. They are pretty cool to use, especially with the chromatic aberration and imperfections on there. And I will make a tutorial in the future how to photograph them by yourself. That's not that complicated, and I think it's a cool thing because then you got your own bokeh collections with your own lenses. But yeah, this will be a tutorial that I will do in the future, how to create your own bokeh images. So with further ado, let's get started here in today's tutorial. I will talk, or I will talk about volume geometry, so how to manipulate volume and then convert it back to geometry to get cool shapes like rocks or abstract shapes and so on. So we will first start with placing down a geo. I will call that geo, let's call it volume manip for manipulation, and I will choose black and round. Cool. I will dive inside with I key, or just double click the mouse, the left mouse button, and I will place down let's first place down a sphere. I make it a polygon, give it a frequency of maybe 15, place down a null, and I will use the null to create a variable input node. So just call this Geo Input, so you can later quickly change out your input node with a switch or a procedural setup. Cool. We created here our sphere, and now I want to make a volume out of that. That's pretty easy. Place down a VDB from polygons, and we will not use the distance VDB, we will use the fog VDB. So we will create a density volume. When you press middle mouse button, you can already see density volume with float voxels 4,000, approximately 4,000 voxels with a voxel size of 0.1. Of course, now we will dial that down a little bit, so 0.025 to get a little more voxels. After that, I want to place down a volume warp. And with the volume warp you can now manipulate our density volume. For example, we can use an anti-aliasing noise, pipe that into position and that into density. And now you can't see really much. First of all, maybe you want to fit this noise. So anti-aliasing noise is from minus 0.5 to 0.5. So minus 0.5 to 0.5. But we want negative values, so we can fit that back to minus 1 to 1. When we dive out, we can place down a volume visualization node, pipe that into here, and we will use the density field, and now you can just pipe up the density scale to get a little better understanding or look how the volume will look like. So currently the resolution isn't too high, but that's not a problem because we can convert it back to polygons, and after that we can subdivide it or make a VDB remesh and stuff like that. So I will pipe that to the side and I will color that in purple for visualization volume. So I always color my vis nodes in purple color so I can see them in a bigger setup. So we got here our geometrical input, our volume WOP. Let's call this volume manipulation. Okay, cool. And now I want to convert this back. We can just get a convert VDB and convert it back to polygons. And now we've got our little let's call it manipulated sphere, stuff like that. And the cool thing is, of course, we can now play with the input. And what I want to do, I want to place down a WOP after the sphere. So let's have a look at the sphere, and we will get a little bit higher with the frequency here. So this is now a little bit more density on the polygons, and we will call this let's call it WOP displays. WOP displays, and dive inside. In this volume WOP I just want to displace the sphere. After the displacing I want to maybe scatter some big spheres on top of it, remesh that and remesh that again, and then we will input the remeshed geometry into the input. Okay, let's get started. We'll place down the displays along normal. This node will displace the geometry along the normal vector. So that's a pretty powerful node, especially for geometrical growth effects, point growth effects, motion graphics, stuff like that, because it's pretty fast and it's basically Vex, so that's pretty cool. We will get a position, and then we will bind the position out to the position, and we need an amount. And of course the normals, you can pipe that the normals in, but you usually don't have to do it. But just to be sure, let's pipe it in. Or when you got custom normals, of course, then you need to pipe the custom normals in here. We need amount, and with the amount you can go for with dot products, noises, custom patterns, and so on. I will use a noise for that now. Let's use unified noise, the unified static, and we'll pipe the position into the position, and the noise will just pipe into the CD, into the color for now, to have a look here. So let's pipe up or get a little bit higher with the frequency here, so I will place down just a constant and pipe that into frequency, so I will get an overall constant. I will use 2.5 for now, and then I can play with the noise type. Manhattan, let's get a cool noise type here. Let's get a Wally Cellular F1, and I will pipe that into the amount. And you can already see we will displace this along the normal vector, and you will get already pretty cool results. So noise displacement is a really common thing to do in my opinion, and it's pretty strong to create really cool quick shapes. And we got our, so let's pipe that in here. This is the input, and here's the displacement and the other stuff, and let's call this Geo Input or out displaced. And in here we will do some other nodes. Okay, we now displaced our geometry. Of course, you can already play with the input. You can get, for example, a fractal type here. You can play with, let's play with the bias a little bit. You can play with the bias, for example, to get a little bit more organic stuff and so on. So that's fully up to you. What I want to do now, I want to get a little bit of smoothness on there. So let's smooth our mesh a little bit. And now we can have a look at that one. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. Of course, now we can pipe up the resolution here, and we need to reverse it in the end. So reverse our geometry. The cool thing is what we can do now. Let's do that. We will place down another VDB from polygons to get a little bit of cleaner mesh here. VDB from polygons, let's pipe it up to 0.01, I think. That would be pretty good. We will use a VDB segment by connectivity. So we will get rid of the non-connected parts, and we will blast them away. Place down a blast, select the add name equals surface _0, delete non-selected, and we can convert this back. Cool. Of course, then you can delete the color or delete the color attribute to get rid of the red. I will use a color for that. And I will get the smooth from the top and pipe it here in. Then I will increase the value a little bit to get a little bit of smoothness in here. And after that, we can again place down our warp displays. Let's copy that. And we'll get a mess. We will adjust our scale here to 0.05, for example. And I want to go much higher with our frequency. For example, I can use 7.5 to get a pretty good result here. To just get a little bit of geometry detail level, I will use the fractal type terrain here, or let's go with the standard BFFM or FBM. The roughness I will dial down a little bit, and what I want to do, I want to get a little bit more resolution here. So let's move that again and then place the displays on here. And now you can see we've got a much better resolution here. So we got now 2.1 million polygons. I think that's pretty good. And it looks pretty cool. The cool thing is now you can dive inside in your WOP network and your volume manipulation WOP, and you can play with the frequency and the offset, for example. So I will play with the offset. 050 is now the offset. Yeah, the smooth takes a little bit long, but let's have a look on that. And let's get just 5, 5, and 5 in here. And let's have a look on that. And I think that's a pretty cool way to get cool shapes. Yeah, that looks pretty nice. And I think we need to dial down a little bit the displays here. Yeah, that's better. Of course, what you can do, you can calculate the curvature and use that as mask for the displacement, so that would go in here, into the scale. That's fully up to you. What you can do now, you can just make a pretty quick and dirty trick here. You can place on a twist node. With the twist node you can do a lot of cool stuff, but let's just get it here, and now you can twist your whole geometry to get like, yeah, pretty cool terrain surfaces, maybe for abstract terrain, stuff like that here, and with pretty cool shapes. So for example that shape here. So I think twist is, or bend is, a pretty simple node, but you can do a lot of things with it, especially in the sub manipulation context with geometry and points. And I think that looks pretty cool, alright. And now we can get some little shots here with redshift. Okay. I think now we don't need to use the reverse. Yes, we can delete the reverse. What we can do, for example, we can calculate the curvature. Let me just show you that. Measure. Place down a measure node. In the measure node we will go to our handle here. We will select curvature, and let's go per piece. I think the node is sometimes a little bit slow, but now when we got, okay, we need to, I think we need to pipe it up. No, curvature 1 point. It should work though. But the range is currently, I hate this node. Okay, we can just calculate it into, maybe I'm currently doing an arrow, maybe let's go on points. We can calculate it, oh yeah, okay. We can calculate it for sure in Redshift, but here can calculate too, so set it on points, and then you need to play a little bit with the range here. For example, something like that. And what you can do, you can bake visualized range into output. And that's pretty cool because you will get a point attribute called curvature, and I think it's already fitted. It's not fitted. Okay, let's fit that. You can download this mini assets onto my Gumroad. Let's fit that, and now we can place down a color, or you can do it with the visualizer and get the curvature in, and now you've got your curvature calculated. And I think that's pretty cool for creating masks on your geometry and pipe them into Redshift. And I will use an attribute blur here and not a position. We will blur the curvature. I'll just copy the name, pipe it in here, and then we can blur the curvature a little bit. For example, 15 blurring iterations, and get a color after that. So you can see the curvature is now much more pleasing to the eye, and you can of course play with the iterations on here. And yeah, pretty powerful node, the measure node. You can use that for sure. I will pipe here down from the twist. I will pipe down a material and call this RS matte. I will dive up and we will set up a little render setup. Okay, we will set up a little render setup. Nice Tim. Okay, place down a RS light dome, RS dome. Let me just check the time here. Easy. Place down a RS dome here. Make it yellow because it's a light. A material network, a ROB network. I did that like, I don't know, RS matte 5,000 times or more. Way more. RS matte and RS out. And we will dive inside a RS out and place down a Redshift custom. Call this RS out low noise. And we will enable, let's enable Redshift system automatic sampling and optics RT if you got an RTX card. And I want to get the global illumination to brute force. So pretty standard setup. After that we will dive into our RS material network and place down a RS material builder. And let's call it RS matte Geo. Dive out, and the last thing we need to do is to place down a camera. So we got a camera, now we need a light for our dome light. Pro Metal Studios, let's just get this one here. That will be enough. Cool. So we got our light, we got our render setup, material setup, camera. Let's set up the camera. Focus distance, let's copy that, the paste relative reference, COC radius, let's pipe that down, and I will use, of course, a bokeh image. Let's get that one. The last one is from a vintage, I think Leica lens, and I've photographed that like I think a year ago, and I just love this bokeh image. Okay, now we want to get a cool angle here. Let's just get this angle, or let's get oh yeah, let's get this angle here. Cool. Now we got our camera and we need to link our material. So Shift W to get our little tree viewer here and just drag and drop the RS matte Geo onto the material. And press Shift W again to hide our little tree view here. And now we can start up the render. Render view, Redshift. Failed to get aces. Okay, I think I need to relocate that. Clear that. It's already in. Okay, cool. Let's get that one. and I think it already looks pretty okay. Of course, what you can do now, what I want to do, yes, let's do that. We will make a little product shot. So product shot of our abstract thing here. So let's go place down a geometry. We will dive inside. Let's just hide this the HDRI for now. I will place down a grid here, and I will transform the grid. Let's pipe that a little bit down, so just like that is alright, I think. Yeah. Yes. Okay. I will get two. Oh no, wait. The rows 2 and the columns I will get. Let's get 3 here. I think 3 would be fine. And now I want to edit them. So go to your select cursor and 2 lines, and I will push them a little bit upwards here to get a studio background, or just a simple background here. And I will get this, and I will that to here, and that. I'm really not good at modeling in Houdini in kind of that way, but I need to learn it. And I hope there will be some new tools in the future, but I think that will do the job. Subdivide this, place down a subdivide. We will subdivide that a few times, so 4 times. And we've got a little background here. Of course, what we can do that a little bit not so harsh. Okay, cool. And place down a material. RS matte. Let's set 2 quick marks here. You can set quick marks with control 1, 2, 3, and 4 and 5, maybe 5. No, 4. Okay. Oh, okay, 5. Okay, 5 is the maximum. Okay, and you can then switch between quick marks with 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that's pretty cool to speed up a little bit your workflow. RS matte BG for background. I will dive inside and set that to white. And the roughness I will set to 0.5. Dive up, and let's call this Geo BG for background. I will go with a round shape and blue. Dive inside and get a matte BG material, link it, and now our background is twisted, so, or our camera is at the wrong angle for the background, so we can just do something like that here. And what I want to do, let's not this axis here. Yeah, something like that. Cool. Now we got our background. Let's start up the Redshift render view again here. And now you can see we've got our background, but it's yeah, not the prettiest background. I want to light the background a little bit. So I will place down our RS light. Let's just do that. We will go out of here and we will place down RS light. RS light, Redshift. We will use that. We will use that light. It's like the same in photography. We will use that light to illuminate the background. Let's just go here into camera. Whoops, that was the wrong. Okay. What we can do, we can make it a little bit more less spreading here, 0.75 for example, and now we can dial up the area, and then we can go down with the Xpers. Let's go, yeah, I think -3 is fine, I think. Looks pretty good. -4. Yeah, I think that's cool. Of course, what you can do, what you can do now, the cool thing is you can change your background. For example, oh, didn't mean to close that. You can change your background. Readjust the focus here. You can change your background, of course. So, for example, black, or you can use green, blue, and it already looks pretty good. Of course, you can now make another two lights to get lit out the left side and the right side, and of course that's fully up to you. So, for example, we can use a bluish background here. Of course, you can make it reflective or make it really rough. That's fully up to you. Okay, cool. Now we can get to our geometry and make a little bit of R&D shading or look development. Curvature, pipe that in there, and you can already see we got the curvature here. And the cool thing is we can adjust the radius here to get a really harsh curvature and get the littlest convex and concave shapes here, but we can make it a little bit rougher and be happy with that. Convex, let's try concave here. Yeah, I think concave will do the job. Cool. We can make a two-sided material, so again place down an RS material, and we got 1 and 2, and a material blender, RS material blender. Let's pipe that into the base color, that into the layer color, and that into the blend color, and the output of the material blender we will pipe out to the surface. And currently you will see nothing or no change, because currently both materials got the same color and the same parameters. So you can type, for example, blending color, and after that we can use that. We can, for example, we can use our background color to get the complementary of that and use that in our rendering. Just a quick tip. You can use, for example, blue or red or orange. We can dial down our saturation a little bit, and we can, for example, let's do a glass 0.25. Let's make it a little bit more rough. And the cool thing is, what we can do, we can assign for each material, we can assign a different bump map or normal map. We will do that. We will place down a max on noise here, and pipe that quickly into the surface to just get a look how the noise will flow and look on the geometry. I will use my favorite. I think my favorite is Luca. Bump, RS bump, but first of all I want to make another noise. FBM. Oh, wait. FBM, for example, and I want to place down a color composite node, and we can composite, so make a little bit of compositing here, and we can composite them together. For example, subtract to get pretty harsh, multiply is pretty cool, difference is also really nice to get like really harsh lines on your noise. Lighten is pretty cool too. Overlay is like a standard thing, but I will go for average. Let's play here a little bit with the two noises. Where is the contrast? Here. Let's increase the contrast a little bit here, and a little bit here too. And now we can pump that in our texture, in our input. And after that we can have, oh yeah, we can pipe that into our overall bump. And now you can already see we've got a bump on our orange here, but that's way too much. 0.025 for example, yeah, that looks good. And we can of course use that again and just offset the whole thing. Let's offset the whole thing here. So we got an offset on here and an offset on here, and we can pipe that into our glass. And I will decrease the bump here a little bit to only get really subtle values. And you already got a pretty okay material setup. Of course that's nothing complex, but it's not bad. Of course what you can do, you can for example you can pipe another noise. So let's just get this noise here, and we will use the exact same noise with a ramp to control the color here. And now you can control your color with a noise, for example infrared, two-tone, white to red, and so on. So I think that's pretty powerful too. And I think we are under a pretty bad resolution here. Oh my god. Let's dive inside back again and restart the render window. Yeah, that's much better resolution here. And sure, you can now play here with your colors. So you can make it a little bit more contrasty, or you can pipe in here like a blending color, so for example red, or manually dial in a color to get a really subtle change of color in here. So of course that's fully up to you. Yeah, so I think we're done for that tutorial. I hope you liked it, and I will see you in the next one. So take care and stay safe. If you got any questions, follow me on Instagram, drop a line there. On my website there is a contact button, so just feel free to write me, ask anything you want. Cool. And that's it for that, and I will see you in the next tutorial or course and so on. Take care.